Yeah, so anyways, me personally, I am not interested in sacrificing my autonomy, and I also think that with the way that this administration is running everything, making everybody poor as hell, sacrificing my autonomy would mean my ultimate destruction. So why the fuck would I do that? Why would I listen, comply, or, participate in what I'm witnessing? I feel like some people think they get a second ride on this earth, and, I don't know where this imaginary state of living life like it's some sort of dream comes from, but I feel like I witness it in a lot of people, that they just do not understand the seriousness of the things that are happening around them. Now, we've got a president that's got the lowest historical approval rating, with 30% of the population roughly supporting what he's doing. So then with that, I will say that, the less support they have, the less likely we are to wind up having conflict between each other. I feel like I see that as a relevant factor in what we're dealing with. But, this really bothers me. We got a population of 340 million Americans. The population back in 1776 was only like a couple million, like 2 or 3 million or something, a real small number. Anybody who thinks that they're going to revert us back to that time is just not being realistic. The consequences of attempting to jangle up a population of 340 million people is going to have consequences, and not likely going to play out in the way that you're probably wishing it will if you're trying to revert us back to that situation. So then I will say, though, that we need to keep up with these public awareness campaigns and educational campaigns. Other than that, I feel like I see that MAGA has itself trapped in an echo chamber, and these guys are gunning for it, and if you look at what's going on with this organization that Charlie Kirk's wife is now taking over, Turning Point, that was his organization, they were targeting the youth, they were targeting the kids. And then with that, I also want to say, some of these podcasters that MAGA has been utilizing as a tool to manipulate others, they're targeting the youth for their audience, and they're also targeting young podcasters, young people, and suckering them into this situation. So then I want people to have concern about the well-being of young minds and what's being done here, and have consideration and understand what our responsibilities are if you're older than some of these young adults. What we need to be doing, though, is looking for solutions. We're dealing with a president who has been talking about all of these ways in which he, appears to me, seems to want to harm the American people. That's what it looks like his intentions are. And so we need to take this seriously, and we need to be having discussions. Other than that, I was hearing that they're also planning on using a large amount of the ICE budgets to deploy robot dogs. When I see people attempting to harass and intimidate me on my platform, they always have fake accounts, and it certainly appears to me like foreign operatives. That's what it looks like when I see it. Most of these accounts are non-responsive. Somebody will make a threat at you or whatever, and then you try to respond, and they just, poof, they're gone all of a sudden. There's no discussion, so they're not serious. But other than that, our FBI is supposed to investigate murders and deaths and stuff. It is a part of public safety. There's an entire government here. The people are not being protected from fraud. Meanwhile, the administration talks about how we need to bring the birth rates up, but also has people that are talking about literally imprisoning the population and killing people. A president that has been engaging in international acts that are going to get us in a lot of trouble. And then other than that, from what I see with these tariffs, it looks like they're likely illegal based on the World Trade Organization's regulations for international trade that a lot of different nations have signed on to. So that's something I'm looking at. My business has been forced to shut. I literally have to go online and fucking delete every product and change my whole product line and go put all of that back online. It's going to take me a long time to do that. And countries are saying that they're not sending packages because they got no idea what's going on, and the presidency is just trying to do this weird shit all of a sudden, and they don't even know how to respond because they weren't given time to respond. Why? Because the president of the United States is doing whatever the fuck he wants illegally. So then I am here telling you that it has impacted my business and my ability to do business. This is coming after the fact that I have two different cases that are significant to me that I filed in the federal government attempting to get legal violations, people breaking the law, people committing fraud, handled.
And so I'm broke as a result of the fact that the law has not been getting enforced. I'm being forced into poverty because our government's not doing its job. And they're talking about doing horrendous things to homeless people, and then Fox News has been inciting violence towards homeless people, and we just had a homeless encampment get shot up. I was fine before the motherfucker came around and started spewing hate speech. There are very serious consequences for the kinds of things that we're seeing, and I think anybody who's supporting this is living in a state of disillusionment. Other than that, they're in echo chambers, and I want to see content creators, if you're a new content creator or whatever, get over there, get on the MAGA platforms, and start telling people the truth. Because honestly, when I go over there, I find that there's people that are hungry for the truth, and when they see that they're caught in an echo chamber, they're going to fucking listen. So your following's going to go up. And it's going to go up pretty quickly when you get on these MAGA platforms. My name is Waffles, and I'm a government whistleblower turned political commentator, and this is my story. At the beginning of the pandemic, I was working for the Colorado Department of Labor handling unemployment claims where many claimants who qualified for benefits were not receiving the benefits that they qualified for, and we were telling them that their accounts were on fraud holds. But we weren't taking them off the fraud holds, and they weren't allowed to talk to anybody that could do anything about it. And when I was at the Department of Labor certainly appeared to me to be going to extreme lengths to prevent people from being able to do anything about those fraud holds. This is in 2022. I wrote a whole book about it. There's a personal account of my experience and some of the conversations that I had with claimants. I went back to doing landscaping. When the contract ended, I was a temporary staff hired to work at the Department of Labor as a subcontractor. Things went normal for me after that. I went and worked for a publishing company on a temporary contract for about 6 months, and then I was doing some landscaping, and everything was fine. And then I moved into this house with my uncle while going through a divorce, and I broke my foot, and I tried to get unemployment benefits and was not able to. And it's been a couple years, so I'm just wondering why it is that the Department of Labor is running like the pandemic just started. So I couldn't find work and was trying to figure out how I'm going to pay my bills while my bills are lapsing as a result of the government not doing its job at the Department of Labor. And so I was working really hard to find a job online, and I found one working as a call center agent for a company named StarTech. And we were working for a third-party client that was paying for StarTech to provide services as a customer service call center. The client's name was Altice or Optimum U.S.A. And from what I witnessed, it looked like they were engaging in wire fraud. There were a lot of customers calling in who had significant sums of money being taken off of their accounts. When asking for an explanation as to why they owe this money, we were giving them none, and I was told to tell customers to call back later. I was axed for attempting to escalate calls for resolution. This happened around April, so I found a landscaping job where I was seriously harassed, and 2 workers, including a new manager that was just freshly hired over me, buddied up to take my position as a manager, as a foreman, because they wanted my job, and I'm a female, so I made an easy target. So I'm just here talking about substantial financial losses caused by Donald John Trump. In my personal life during the pandemic, prior to his presidency, after losing that landscaping job, I then proceeded to file complaints against both the call center that appeared to be engaging in fraud, as well as the landscaping company that discriminated against me because of my gender, even though I have damn near 10 years of experience in the field as a foreman. And as months went on, we're now over a year into me dealing with serious financial issues as a result of the government not doing its job. You know, I try to handle this legally. These companies are breaking the law. I'm reporting them to the government so that we can go through legal procedure. I have never filed a lawsuit against anybody in my entire life. I am now. I have been. Because the financial losses that I'm dealing with as a result of this have been substantial. I attempted to collect unemployment again after losing my landscaping job, and what happened
is they wouldn't let me collect my funds, and I had to take an employer who lied to the Department of Labor about the terms of my employment, making false statements, to testify in an internal court inside of the Department of Labor. And then my benefits were turned on, and then they were immediately shut off with overdrafts. Extra money was funneled to a bank account that is not mine. So I am out here blowing the whistle on that. I am not backing down. I will not back down, because I am dealing with a cascading, ever worsening problem, watching this motherfucker continue to make things worse. So what we're talking about is wire fraud. Other than that, you know, I still have my 2 cases, one through the EEOC and then the other through the SEC, as well as several other federal agencies, none of whom have taken action on either of those cases. They have been unresolved. They have been blatantly ignored. I have written an entire book about this and the fact that this is being done to people, not just me. The one that I reported that appeared to be stealing from its customers, Optimum U.S.A., have legal requirements to maintain their call recordings for a certain period of time, and then they are allowed to destroy them as they take up space on the computer. So because of the fact that my SEC case was going to lapse, I contacted the SEC and I said, you better not let this lapse. That was the chairman, the director that I had contacted, who took no action, and nothing was done to contact the corporation who was engaging in fraud to ensure that they maintain those records. So then, my case is essentially null. This is a company that, if you look them up, was at the time of 2023 engaging under investigation internationally for fraud activity. The CEO, one of the executives, I don't think it was the main head, but yeah, was arrested in Portugal on fraud allegations. The United States has done no investigation. They have failed to act. Have failed to act for so long that the records required for the case are now destroyed. I am still dealing with financial losses, and this has been going on since 2023. I signed up for college in a panic for a period of time, and as a result of not being able to secure stable employment, I wasn't having these problems before, and I do think that the president's rhetoric has played a significant role in causing my unemployment. I have now been investigating this administration since 2023 as a result of wire fraud that took place through my unemployment account as a witness to prior instances of this taking place on people's accounts, and now it's mine, so now I'm holding evidence, which I do believe that Elon Musk has likely tampered with. I am documenting everything that happens, every encounter, everything. It's all documented. This has been going on for 3 years, and if you look at my channels, you will see this. I have been looking for other whistleblowers because I knew our federal agencies were being impacted as a result of what I witnessed through our government not doing its job. I found Joe Biden testifying to the public in a press release or something. It is documented in my Substack in a post that questions if MAGA has been human trafficking. This is prior to the election. I have evidence that Donald Trump was contacting members of Congress and ordering them to interfere with our federal agencies between the period of 2020 and 2024 prior to the election. And it makes me really wonder where the money went that was going missing, which is $2 to $3 trillion in total between our federal agencies. We've found a few people, but not all of them. There's a person who is currently holding seats who engaged in Medicaid fraud in Florida Senate. It is documented in my timeline, in my feed. There is a very long video that I made talking about MAGA engaging in fraud, and it includes a statement on Joni Ernst, who appears to be making death threats to the victims of the fraud that took place at our federal agencies during the pandemic. I'm just assuming that Joe Biden was out of it during the time having medical issues, but that also means that Kamala Harris has a responsibility to act as VP, and if the president is having medical issues and is incapacitated or needs help, she has a responsibility. So I don't understand why it is that the Biden administration allowed a national security threat of this scale
to proceed with what we are currently witnessing. I warned the CIA. I contacted the CIA at least 12 times around November and December as a result of repeated violations against my civil rights and the systematic dismantling of our federal agencies during the pandemic. So they had the chance and the opportunity to act, and I believe that Chris, who was in charge of the FBI, Christopher Wray, who was initially appointed during the first Trump presidency, may be a co-conspirator who assisted in covering up this activity. I find the so-called alien invasion of the drones that were introduced during Biden's tenure leading up to the election highly suspicious. I would also like to point out that I witnessed that in certain areas, people were being allowed to use these drones as skeet and failing at taking them down. I have been monitoring the situation and trying to figure out how I am going to pull myself out of the situation that was caused by Donald Trump. I feel that the DOGE department, the Department of Government Efficiency, part of its job was to go in there and try to conceal all the bank accounts that the wire fraud went to. Kind of obvious, if you ask me, if a shit ton of money went missing, that all of a sudden this fucking random ass weirdo goes running into the building, starts plugging shit in, and starts fucking with shit. So I want to say that I am aware of a mass grave in Arizona that is also, I'm pretty sure it's New Mexico. It's in New Mexico. It's documented in my timeline. I was chased by a red truck while trying to go to work that had license plates from Chihuahua. I find that very interesting. I'm documenting everything, guys. I'm a whistleblower. And this has been going on for 3 years. I'm getting really mad and I'm watching all of this shit happen and I'm so far beyond disgusted. But people need to understand the severity of the danger that we are dealing with. Other than that, I'm out here trying to be a whistleblower. I'm out here trying to educate the public. I'm trying to work with the people. I'm trying to help us get to an end, to find solutions and have a network that we can stay safe in and find solutions. That's my goal. That's my objective. And this is where I'm coming from. I'm coming from as a government whistleblower who has been in the middle of this situation for the last 3 years and saw the threat coming and repeatedly reported it to the CIA and saw jack shit get done. That is my perspective. So people can agree, people cannot agree. I don't feel like I'm necessarily here to debate. I don't feel like I have time to debate. Right now, I'm going through more legal shit because I took my vehicle to an auto repair shop that appears to have purposefully destroyed my transmission. They caused $8,000 of damage after I paid for $3,000 of repairs. And I have not had my vehicle for 6 months. There's no grocery store in this town. I am stranded in the middle of nowhere. I am living with somebody that has been abusive and aggressive and hateful towards me, that I don't know very well, that is a family member, that I was not allowed to be around my family, and I'm finding out why. But I'm trapped in the middle of the country in a very unsafe situation as a result of being economically deprived. As a result of my living conditions, I have been staying locked in my room for a significant amount of time, the better part of the last 3 years, because it is not safe for me to go wandering around outside as people are shooting each other in my neighborhood, and I am surrounded by a bunch of criminal activity, which also involves a significant amount of what appears to be human traffickers, based on what I see when I look at the offender map. I am a government whistleblower who in 2023 recognized what appeared to be attempts at a systematic attack upon the United States of America through the deliberate dismantling of our federal agencies during the pandemic. At that time, my opinion of what I was witnessing was that, these are agencies that enforce the law, being this SEC, the FBI, etc., etc., Department of Labor, the EEOC. These are systems that protect the people, and I saw a lot of them getting dismantled, so I reported it all the way up the ladder, gradually, one point at a time. If I found I was not getting help, I will report again, and then report again, and continue escalating, and there has been no resolution, as you can clearly see. And let me remind you, I contacted the CIA at least 12 times.
So then I would say that with what I'm currently witnessing, I personally feel like our CIA is null and void and not useful, and that is not a good sign for the state of well-being for the nation. We had Russian interference with our election being announced. I have never seen, things like people throwing off mail packages and lighting ballot boxes on fire before. That's new. I'm 38. Ain't my first election. I thought that was really weird. And then Pete Hegseth comes into office and removes the protections for cybersecurity against Russians. Cybersecurity that would prevent incoming Russian cyber attacks. And then next thing I know, I'm getting all these bots up in my comments and shit. All these weird ass accounts with like 3 followers and no videos and no profile picture saying all this kind of stuff up in my comments. All the time. It happens all the time. It's been happening for quite a while. As a result of the fact that I've been isolated for so long and locking myself in my room because I do not feel safe with how I've been treated. I've been losing my eyesight because of a significant amount of weight gain due to not getting exercise and being locked in a room for the better part of the last 3 years as a result of systematic abuses and civil rights violations by Donald John Trump during the pandemic, as well as up to present day. As a result of the fact that my vehicle is totaled, the only way that I'm able to get any sort of food is through the food stamps program right now. And I'm not able to go to the food bank or anything because I do not have reasonable access to transportation. I live in a rural area. I'm in the middle of fucking nowhere. So then I finally start getting a little tiny trickle of money coming in. I'm at a total of $100 over the past several months in t-shirt sales. And then what happens is Donald Trump has just issued executive orders that has caused a halt on package delivery. So there is a crap ton of nations that are not delivering packages to the United States right now. It is on hold. So I finally start seeing some money come in, and then this is what happens. Donald Trump is making illegal decisions with his tariffs in violation of World Trade Organization regulations. And I am now out of business and again scrambling to try and figure out how I'm going to survive. And this has been going on for 3 years now. I'm stranded in the middle of nowhere, and I've been going blind as a result of severe weight gain, improper nutrition, no exercise, and being locked in a room for the better part of the last 3 years. I have had to explain to the courts that I could not read my legal documents because of loss of eyesight due to the fact that the person I am living with is a hazard to my safety and well-being and has been spreading diseases through the house as a result of poor hygiene. We are working on these things. The situation is gradually improving. I have made it clear that because of the fact that I am tied up in the court system, here is my case documents for the current case that I'm working on. Out of God only knows, I probably have at least 40 cases going through our fucking systems right now or something. That's just a rough estimate based on how many cases I've fucking filed. So you can see that I have written a book because I saw an incoming threat. And you can see that there was a lot of people being impacted by the systematic dismantling of our federal agencies prior to Trump's election. I believe the Trump administration and his MAGA buddies and all his campaign co-conspirators have embezzled a significant amount of tax money, first of all. And none of them are financially capable of paying that money back to the federal government because they were splitting the pot. In my opinion, that's just what it looks like at this point in my life. I can say something over and over and over again. Doesn't mean people are going to hear it. It's based on my following on these platforms. And oh my God, there's so much going on. We had a whistleblower at the Department of Labor saying that it appeared that Russians were attempting to access the systems. We need to take what is happening right now very seriously. I will say that. Other than that, I feel that the Trump and his administration have been making direct and clear threats towards the American people. Some of these things that they're trying to talk about, that they're trying to do, aren't even doable. I don't understand why they're talking about unaliving people and putting them into camps and talking about how people need to be making babies right now. There's been political violence.
But I don't think watching the country destabilize when there's a bunch of bombs going off overseas, if Putin is able to expand into NATO, we got a real serious problem, because that's just going to put him closer to the United States too. Just a hop, skip, and a jump away right across the ocean to come on over here. That is a problem. We don't let him advance. I have seen way too much crap on this whole journey of dealing with all of this, and I have no intention of backing down or stopping. I need to do some restructuring on my platform. As a whistleblower, I have been looking for other whistleblowers as a result of what is going on, because I expect that there's a shit ton of them all over the damn place right now. We got people blowing the whistle on private companies. We got people blowing the whistle on parts of the government. There's whistleblowers all over the place. We need to be listening to them. We need to be platforming them. So I'm paying attention to them. I want to get them out here. Other than that, I feel this is what it's like being a whistleblower, okay? You try to do the right thing, and you try to hold people accountable, or for me, in my situation, I'm going to die if I don't get this fixed, so I'm going to keep trying to work on solving my problems. This is where I'm at, and if the Trump administration don't like that people like me are out here speaking, well, I guess you never should have did what you did in the first place, and it would be a really good idea to stop, backpedal, and hit the brakes on what you're doing harm to the American people, because the more that you do harm, the bigger the resistance is going to get, and the more resistance is going to amplify. And it means you're a lot more likely to wind up rotting in jail. Maybe you should stop and start giving a shit about the American people. Other than that, I've come from a military family, and what I feel I'm witnessing, it looks a lot to me like, what a foreign nation would do, a foreign adversary would do. Taking apart the health system, taking apart protections from financial fraud, increasing the food costs where people are not able to afford to live, making housing impossible, and forcing people out onto the streets after stealing all their money, which if they drop interest rates anything significant anytime soon, people who are already broke as a result of what this administration has done will go further broke if they take up any additional debt, because they're not going to be able to pay that debt back. So then they're going to be even further in the hole, and that is what we call debt slavery, and it is a crime. It is illegal. So then if our CIA and our FBI are compromised, nobody is protecting the people. I'm just expressing my thoughts and my opinions and my concerns about the things that I'm witnessing, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. But I'm out here, I'm gonna scrap like hell until I get my life back. I was a landscaper. If it was not for this, I would be out in the posies, playing with bugs and trimming the bushes and putting flowers in the dirt. Well, then with that being said, look at what's been done to my life. The situation at home is improving. I've made it clear to the individual that I'm living with that because of the fact that I'm missing court deadlines as a result of what I've been forced to deal with in the house, that he is also legally liable for the things that he chooses to do in this time, and his behavior has been improving, and we've got multiple agencies on that as well. So, I'm grateful. Substance abuse does horrible things to you, and I think if you're going to abuse alcohol for a very, years out of your life, there's going to be consequences, and that's going to be all the time that you did not spend learning or growing or expanding as a person, as well as potential damage that has been done physically to the brain. So we're not going to talk about that issue, but I'm just grateful that the situation here has been improving, but it has resulted in extreme and severe health consequences to me. All of these things combined, and I'm not okay with that either, because I've spent my entire life trying to maintain my health, and now my health is being destroyed, not by me, but by somebody else trying to tell me and force me to live in a way that is not feasible, rational, or reasonable. Then I am now in a situation where I am not able, I started getting a little bit of money thing, at least a light at the end of the tunnel going through all this, and my business is not even able to deliver packages because this disgusting old orange man that is really appears to hate the United States has made it so nobody's delivering packages to the United States, and I'm sure that my business is not the only business that's been impacted by that. If this was not going on, like I said, I'd be out in the posies, I'd be trimming bushes, I wouldn't even be doing all this shit. As a whistleblower and in my interactions with whistleblowers, it's we're trying to get a message out here, and it's hard to get people to listen and to hear and to understand what you're saying. I am also a graphic designer. I am grateful for the fact that I am an incredibly skilled person.
This is not what I was intending to do. I was intending on doing a awareness campaign for ecological conservation using my brand, and instead I am now out here fighting the devil. With that being said, I've also got, statistical information. It looks like women were forced out of the workforce during the pandemic, and they were also targeted through these federal agencies as a result of that, and they are the primary victims of these crimes, also including the migrant populations. It is all documented in my book. And in my writings on Substack, and on my timelines, and in my YouTube, and everything, all over. Being a whistleblower feels like being a broken record. You say the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, because you need all of the new audience to hear what you have to say and understand what is going on. One of my buddies has been fighting his case for several years and is losing his mind as a result, and got himself locked up because he got pissed off. And that would be Adam Knutson, who opened a case in a federal building and put an object inside, including a lawyer, image of his lawyer who was murdered in the attempts to resolve his case against BlackRock. So when he gets out in October, I would like people to be paying attention to the things that are going on out here. I'm not out here trying to just be a content creator. There's a lot going on. I am doing this all for a reason. I have no intention of stopping. Unfortunately, I have found that people are more likely to listen and get engaged if you are entertaining. So I'm going to keep doing that. And I also want the problem solved. And as you can clearly see, for me, from my own perspective, I've tried to handle things through the courts, and it's not getting handled due to the systematic dismantling of our federal agencies. I'm looking at, it looks like this person is engaging in a variety of crimes against the United States. He needs to be held accountable, along with co-conspirators. I'm sure some of them are probably watching, because this has been going on for 3 years and I'm not backing down. And I need people to understand the severity of what it means if your entire system of governance, things that are supposed to protect people, is dismantled. And people are being deprived of financial resources. And, essentially from my own perspective, it looks like people are being robbed and then murdered. And I think this whole dismantling of the CDC is incredibly concerning, because it looks like another military tactic that a foreign adversary would likely do to do harm to the United States. Meanwhile, Trump's got his gold card where all the rich Russians can come and buy up real estate after we're all gone. So I take the situation very seriously. I care about my country. There's 340 million people. And the fact that we are all literally, our lives are being impacted in a way that, like, all of us are being impacted by this shit, is kind of ridiculous. You guys remember being kind of unaware of each other, and now we're all, like, intermingled in this single pool of holy fuck, I want my life to go back to normal. So I'm in the middle of handling a bunch of legal documentation, because I need to go into the courthouse tomorrow to file a motion to escalate a case, which, I don't know where all this is going to go, but I'm getting really sick of this, and I really miss my old life where I still had a car and wasn't trapped in the middle of nowhere, and was, like, able to go do gardening and enjoy the weather and have fun with people that I enjoyed working with, and eat lunches in the truck and do what I'm used to doing. And now I'm living out here like a prisoner, watching the situation get worse and worse and worse. And every time I try to do right by myself and try to be responsible in the middle of this, I just receive another attack, which to me is just another example of systematic attacks. And I feel like I'm being targeted, and the fact that I'm forced to feel that way as a result of what the President of the United States is doing is absolutely unacceptable. I don't like watching people speculate and do anything to justify doing harm to other people, because I understand that a population of 340 million people is being impacted by crimes being committed by the administration, and things are not normal, and life's not going to go back to normal if we let our country become destabilized to a point where we have a lack of access to resources, and a president that is quite literally, deploying the military against the United States people, which, as it is right now, that is currently what appears to be happening. So I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I really hope that people are paying attention and that we look out for each other, and I really wish this shit would stop. I don't know what it's going to take. People need to be doing these blackouts. They need to be doing the boycotts. That's one place where we can handle these problems. And we need to be talking to each other, and people need to get out of their echo chambers. And like I said, get out there and start talking to each other. I don't care what it takes. I want my life back. I personally, people seem to live in a dream like we're going to get a second chance. No, I'm only getting older. This has been going on for 3 years for me. I don't want to live like this. I can't live like this. It's killing me.
And they're trying to threaten to take away my Medicaid. That I wouldn't even need if it wasn't for what Donald Trump and his pieces of shit are doing. I mean, speculation and entertainment, you know, it happens. But for me, like, I have no intention of stopping. I have no intention of backing down. I'm not going to be silent. I know that once my life is gone, it's gone forever. And I want better than this for myself. And I'm not going to go down and just let whoever do whatever to me. Don't tell me how to live. I was just taking care of the plants. I didn't do nothing to nobody. Don't tell me how to live. You don't know what life is if you are going to tell others how to live when they are doing no harm. That is a weak and incompetent person that does that. And so far from what I've seen with these white supremacists that are on parade right now, taking this as an opportunity to do what they want to other people, those people, the white supremacists, those are lazy, whiny bastards, in my opinion. These are people who are not willing to work for what they have in life. They think they need to take it from others. We have a population of 340 million Americans here. Most of us actually work for what we have. And so does the rest of the world. And so you look foolish and weak and incompetent because you choose to do all of this harm to other people because you are so lazy that you feel you deserve the right to go that far to take from others rather than be responsible in your own life and earn what you have. And with that being said, I'm going to drop this tangent. I'm very frustrated with the things I'm seeing. Situation only keeps getting worse. I'm looking at what Donald Trump now is doing to businesses and the WTO, and I'm wondering if the WTO can be used to hold them accountable. And if you're an international and you're being impacted and you feel that you have premise to take this to the World Trade Organization, please do.